You ever walk into a friend's apartment and it's spotless, and you get that little sinking feeling in your stomach? You look at their perfectly organized bookshelf, and then you think about that pile on your chair back home, and a little voice just whispers, "Ugh, you're so lazy." Yeah, we've all been there.
But what if I told you that little voice is completely wrong? That your messy room isn't some moral report card on your life. It's actually a signal. It's a message from your brain. And today, we are going to decode what that chaos is really trying to tell you. Because spoiler alert, it has almost nothing to do with being lazy and everything to do with what's going on inside your head.
Okay, so first things first, we have got to demolish this massive cultural myth that a clean house makes you a good person and a messy one means you're failing at life. That's not just unhelpful, it's just plain wrong from a neurological standpoint.
See, the ability to keep your space tidy isn't really about your character. It's about your capacity. It's about the state of your nervous system and how much mental energy you have left in the tank after dealing with work, kids, life, all of it. You're not lazy. You're just out of resources.
I mean, think about it for a second. Cleaning isn't just scrubbing. Your brain has to plan, make decisions, focus. These are called executive functions. And when you're stressed or exhausted or in pain, your brain basically says, nope, we're in survival mode. And those functions just go offline. That's why you can stand in front of a pile of dishes and feel paralyzed. It's not laziness. It's what psychologists call a collapse of resources. And this isn't just some abstract idea. This is a real physiological thing. A cluttered room has a direct and totally measurable impact on your brain. Psychologists have a term for it: cognitive load. Basically, every single object your eyes land on, that stack of mail, the shoes by the door, the cup on the coffee table, your brain processes it as an unfinished task. It's like having 100 browser tabs open in your mind all day long, constantly draining your energy.
And get this, it's not just in your head. Researchers at Princeton actually found that physical clutter literally fights for your attention. It overloads the visual part of your brain, making it physically harder to focus. So your messy room isn't just an eyesore, it's actively wearing your brain out.
And on top of that, there is a biological cost. A really important study found that people who simply described their homes as cluttered had way higher levels of cortisol, the main stress hormone, coursing through their veins all day.
So when you walk into a messy room and you feel that instant wave of exhaustion, that's not you being dramatic. That's a literal neurological event. Your brain is working overtime just to process the chaos, and it's flooding your system with stress. On the flip side, a clean space lets your brain just finally take a breath.
Now, this kind of reveals the real secret behind those people who always seem to have a clean home. They're not some magical species of human who just loves to scrub sinks. No, they are running a completely different psychological program.
Take Sonia, for example. She was a patient dealing with severe anxiety, and her whole world felt like it was constantly spinning out of control. But she discovered that cleaning her house was one of her most powerful tools for managing her emotions. In a life that felt chaotic, her organized home was solid, physical proof that she could create order out of chaos.
Psychologists call this an internal locus of control. It's this powerful belief that your actions can actually shape your world, right? You can't control the economy, you can't control what your boss does, but you can control the state of your kitchen counter. And when you do that, you send this powerful signal to your nervous system that says, hey, I'm in charge here, I got this. So you see, people who clean consistently aren't really motivated by the chore itself. They're motivated by the reward, that feeling of calm, of control that a clean space gives them. They're basically using their environment to manage their internal state. It's a hack.
But here's where we go a little deeper. If tidiness can be a tool for control, then chronic mess can sometimes be, a shield. It's often a physical symptom of an emotional truth that we're trying to avoid. So you have to ask yourself a really hard question and be honest. What is my mess protecting me from? Because a chronically disorganized space is almost never, ever just about the stuff. For some, it might be unprocessed grief. Like one woman, Mariana, who kept moving boxes from her divorce sealed for 2 years because unpacking them meant finally accepting that her life had changed. For others, clutter is a barrier. If your house is a mess, you can't invite anyone over, right? It can also be a silent protest against unfairness at home, or, and this is a big one, simply a physical symptom of the crushing weight of depression and burnout.
Okay, so we get the why, but how do you actually change? How do you begin to step out of the chaos?
Well, the answer doesn't involve buying a fancy new organizer. It involves changing your mind.
Here's the secret. People who keep a clean house don't rely on motivation. Motivation is fickle. They've built an identity. They see themselves as the type of person who respects their environment. And humans will always act in a way that lines up with who they believe they are. If you tell yourself, I'm just a messy person, guess what? Your brain will find a way to make that true.
So, let's build a new identity using tiny little steps that work with your brain, not against it. First, shrink the start. It's the 1-minute rule. If it takes less than a minute, just do it now. Second, create an anchor space. Pick one tiny spot, like your nightstand, and keep it perfectly clean. It calms your brain and makes you want more of that feeling. Third, habit stacking. Attach a tiny cleaning habit to something you already do, like wiping the counter while your coffee brews. And finally, try a 10-minute nightly closure. It's not about cleaning. It's about resetting the room to tell your brain, okay, the day is done. Because ultimately, caring for your space is this incredible act of self-love. Think of Vera, who started her whole journey by just lighting a single candle in her messy living room. That was her way of saying to herself, I exist, I matter, and I deserve a space that feels good.
So remember this, your home isn't a report card for your life. It's a resource for your well-being. And hey, if you're curious about how your sleep environment affects your brain, well, that's a whole other can of worms. For more insights into the psychology of your daily life, be sure to subscribe.